Comes another. Okay. Well, I thought we'd do high card draw for the offering today. Okay. No, really, it's about how many of you used to do or still do houses of cards, right? Anybody still do those? I am so not good at those. I don't know what. I mean, is there a trick to it? Do you all know? Anybody know? Do I drink too much coffee? Glue is a trick. Yes. Yeah, I can't get a house of cards. I don't know. Maybe I need to practice more, but a house of cards I cannot do. And I say that to you today with house of cards in our common vernacular being those things that are easily destroyed, easily fall down, things that really aren't real. It's a house of cards. It has no stability. And so today, as we talk about 1 John 5, 1 through 16, I want to read again for you what we just heard in 1 John 5. Everyone who believes that Jesus is the Christ has been born of God. And everyone who loves the parent loves the child. By this we know that we love the children of God when we love God and obey His commandments. For the love of God is this, that we obey His commandments. And His commandments are not burdensome. For whatever is born of God conquers the world. And this is the victory that conquers the world, our faith. Who is it that conquers the world but the one who believes that Jesus is the Son of God? So Peter, if you might hit the next slide on that, we'll just leave it on this one. As I was reading and thinking about John's epistle here today, the word that kept coming to me was overcome. Overcome. John uses conquer and victory. I like overcome. So let's just go with overcome. So church, here's the main point of today. Christ followers can overcome evil. Christ followers can overcome evil. Let me say it again, 3 times the charm. Christ followers can overcome evil. Now, how do we overcome evil? We overcome evil in 3 ways. Okay? The ways we overcome evil: through our faith, through our obedience, and through our love. We overcome evil through faith, obedience, and love. So the first one is overcoming evil with our faith. When I first read this again, where are we? For goodness sakes, here we are. For whatever is born of God conquers the world. And this is the victory that conquers the world, our faith. Who is it that overcomes but those who believe Jesus is the Son of God? And please note that this is a very definite belief in Jesus as Son of God, not wispy, squishy feelings, not LUV greeting card love, not mental assent. This is believing that Jesus is who He says He is. In the beginning was the Word with God, God of very God, flesh of very flesh, came as the kingdom bringer, the miracle doer, the dead raiser, the one who was crucified on the cross and rose on the 3rd day, the one who stepped through doors and walls just before Pentecost, the one who stepped back into heaven, who reigns at the right hand of God. That is who we believe in, and that is the faith that overcomes the world. That faith in that Jesus overcomes the world. Faith in Guru Jesus doesn't overcome anything. Faith in nice Jesus doesn't overcome anything. Faith in risen, reigning Jesus overcomes evil. Well, how does that overcome evil, Aaron? Well, because Jesus, if we believe Jesus is who He says He is, then he is the defeater of evil. He is the one who put death in its place. He is the one who rose on the third day to a new creation. Jesus is not house of cards, Jesus. Jesus is house of God, Jesus. Firm foundation, Jesus. Jesus has defeated death and evil. That's why he came. Jesus didn't come as a sin offering, Jesus. And we keep him on the cross once and for all, saying, well, you just stay there, Jesus, so that I can be forgiven. No, Jesus came as defeater of evil and death and is the king that I become part of his kingdom, Jesus. And he has defeated evil, and therefore I believe he has, and it is true. But you see the trick, well, let's just say, have you ever felt that evil is just too much in the world and wanted to throw your hands up and walk away? Have you ever just wanted to say, it's too big. I can't take this on as one person or even one church. We just can't. Evil is too pervasive. Even evil in myself, it's too much everywhere. Or have you been tempted to believe that the temptation was so strong within you that you couldn't say no to it, that the evil within us, we couldn't stand against it? Have you ever been tempted to think that? We give in to evil when we do that, because as Christ followers, we have the ability to point out the facade, the house of cards of evil, and say, you know what, devil? I know you are a defeated enemy. I know that you are no longer in charge. You can bark all you want, but you have no bite, because Jesus is the king. He's the one that took that away. Jesus on the cross and in the resurrection is the one who defeated you, and you have no power over me anymore. Do your worst. I was just reading one of the gospel accounts this week. I don't remember which one. Just before Jesus took the boys out of the upper room to the garden, he said, now's the time we should be going, because the ruler of this world is coming. The ruler of this world, death, evil, Satan, however you want to run that out. The ruler of this world thought that he had it on the cross. When the storm winds howled and the lightning flashed, and then Easter morning, Jesus rose from the dead, and no longer does evil have any control. And as a Christ follower, you and I can point that out and say, that's just a facade. That's a ruse. Evil, no, you are not in charge. Evil is defeated in you. We can call evil's bluff. Evil is not the victor. Christ is the victor. Okay? Now, the second way we can overcome evil is through our obedience. Obedience, one of John's favorite lines, one of his favorite thoughts, not only in the gospel that was read to us just a minute ago, but also in 1 John and 2 John. If you love God, you're going to do what God commands. You're going to be obedient. Jesus himself in John 14:15 said, if you love me, keep my commandments. If you love me, keep my commandments. So church, all of us struggle with hypocrisy. All of us struggle with laziness in our discipleship. All of us struggle with apathy. All of us have those problems within us. And how do we overcome those things in our life but through obedience to the commands of Christ? Following what Jesus said helps us overcome the hypocrisy, helps us overcome the laziness. We all don't read as much as we should. We don't study as much as we should. We don't pray as much as we should. I know you're busy. Shoot, everybody's busy. Right? That's for me too. We don't serve as much as we should. We don't give as much as we should. Those things are not excuses. The busyness and all of that. We are called to be obedient, and in our obedience, we overcome evil. In our obedience, we overcome evil. Because the world does not need more hypocritical Christians, does it? The world does not need mere church attenders. The world needs to see consistent followers of Jesus Christ walking in the way, developing their discipleship, because when we do that, we defeat evil. Right? When we're obedient to Jesus, we are defeating evil. When we are not allowing evil to sidetrack us and pull us back into the land of death, we are defeating evil in our obedience. Just driving up to Dakota Church this morning, there was this knot-headed guy in a brown truck. I hope that was none of you. I shouldn't even be calling. There was a guy in a brown truck who was not a pleasant driver. We were caravanning up there with Jenny, the pianist, Jenny Dockweiler, and he's cutting in and out of us, being all crazy. And I could have continued evil and been angry at him and yelled at him, called him all kinds of names. Or I could have been obedient to what Jesus said and forgive people, love people, and be kind and generous, and evil stops right there. How many of you played with mercury when you were a kid? How many of you play with mercury now? Anybody eat lead paint chips? No. What happens when you smack mercury? It explodes, right? It explodes into 1,000 pieces and goes everywhere. That's like evil. When you and I are disobedient and we smack that evil and we work it in our lives, it explodes into 1,000 different little ways and it spreads. And we're not defeating evil, we're spreading evil. When we are unforgiving, we're spreading evil, because Jesus said to forgive 70 times 7. When we do those things, we're spreading evil. When we're unfaithful to the words of Christ, we're spreading evil. When we're selfish, we compound evil rather than defeat evil. When we hate others, we continue evil. When we tell racist jokes, we're continuing division and evil. When we are greedy, we are continuing. You see how this goes? We just compound evil, and no good ever came from the tools of evil. So, church, I'm going to challenge you today to be consistent and to show evil as not boss in your life, and to be obedient to Jesus. Because that's what Jesus said. He said, you come and follow me. He didn't say you come and just believe a few things about me and try to kind of follow stuff. He said, you follow me. Church, all of us have hypocritical tendencies, and we need to stop it. I'm going to challenge you as a church. Everybody wants to know what a church can give them, but what are we going to give to the church? What are we going to commit, right? What are we going to commit? Hopefully it's our obedience to Christ. Now, the third thing, so the first one was we overcome evil through our faith. We overcome evil through our obedience. And number 3, we overcome evil through our love. We overcome evil through our love. The verse 1 here says to us in John that everyone who believes that Jesus is the Christ has been born of God. And everyone who loves the parent loves the child. Okay? We're to be people of love. Let me extend this to you, that God's deepest desire for you is that you be a loving person. God's deepest desire for me is that I be a loving person. Everything God is trying to do within us is to make us more loving. Okay? Jesus said, all of the law and the prophets hang on these 2 commandments. Do you remember what they were? Love the Lord your God with everything you have. And the second is like it, that you love your neighbor as yourself. God wants us to be loving people, because in love we defeat evil. We overcome evil in our lives and in people's lives around us. When we love, we overcome those things. We step, as John says here in his first epistle, We stepped from the land of death to the land of life. We've moved from the land of sin to the land of grace. We go from ugly and darkness to mercy and grace when we love God and love each other, right? When we love our neighbors as ourselves. This is the main thing that this church is to be about. This is the main thing. We are to be a church of love, a church of care and concern. That is the measure by which everything we do is to be measured up. Are we a loving church? Are we helping people? So, what does it mean to be loving, right? It doesn't mean what you see in movies. It doesn't mean what you see in greeting card LUV. What does it mean to be a loving person? Well, I'll attribute Scott McKnight with this one. He's a New Testament scholar. He said, when I read the Bible, I see 4 meanings for love. The first is love is a rugged commitment to someone. A rugged commitment to someone. Even when they're nice, even when they're a jerk. Right? A rugged commitment to people when they are kind or when they are unlovable. We are ruggedly committed to them. Number 2, love is being present with someone that we're committed to. Being present with someone that we are committed to. Third, love is being for someone. For them. We have a hard time convincing our kids about that, right? Like, those rules are there to make you a better person. They're not there just to make you like miserable. You'll be a better person if you don't eat dog food off the floor, whatever. Trust me on that. Been there, done that. Kidding. And fourth, love is helping someone transform into more Christ-likeness. So we overcome evil when we are ruggedly committed to people, even when they are unlovable. We overcome evil when we are with them, even in the ugliest portions of their life. We are loving people when we are for them and we want to see them succeed. And we are for people when we love them, when we help them transform into Christ-likeness. When we love people like that, we will be doing things that are on the cutting edge frontier of crazy, right? Because when we follow Jesus and we love people, I love that saying, grace ends exactly where we think it ought to end. Love begins where we think it ought to end. And we will be doing those things for people that we never thought we would, going places we never thought we would go, helping in ways we never thought we would help, loving because our Christ pushes us and we are overcoming evil in that way. That's what this church is to be all about. Defeating evil, defeating love, defeating separateness. This country is so separated and divided, it is pathetic. Who has an answer? Jesus. Right? Donkeys and elephants aren't going to unify anything. $100 bills aren't going to unify anything. Jesus and the love of Jesus that we show each other and those around us will unify where nothing else will, because we are those people who love that way. That's what draws us here every week, right? Isn't that why you come here? Because the grace of God pulls us in and you just happen to think these are nice people? Right? We are loving when we overcome evil. We overcome evil when we love to the uttermost. Like what we heard, greater love has no one than this, to lay down their life for another. Okay, let me move on here. So evil is around us every day. Evil is around us every day, and sometimes evil is within us if we let it. Evil is found in the way we treat people, and evil's in the systems around us and the dehumanizing ways it treats people and God's good creation. But thanks be to God. Thanks be to God, evil has been overcome. Evil has been defeated through the risen King, Jesus. We know that just as evil's power was snapped on Easter, evil's power in our life has been broken as well. Do you believe that? Do you believe that Jesus is the risen King? Do you believe that Jesus is God, a very God, present in the world through the Holy Spirit? Do you believe that he sits at the right hand of the Father right now, awaiting the day when he will come again in glory? Do you believe that? Then evil is defeated. I don't know, some of you all just kind of sitting there looking at me. I'm not sure you believe that. You know when the devil wins, don't you? When church folk don't believe the stuff that they talk about. Do you want to do the radical things that Christ has called this church to do if we will allow God to work? Do you want to be on that cutting edge frontier of setting people free in Jesus' name if we will allow him? Do you want to love people so very much that it takes everything that you have? Then evil will be defeated. Will you be committed to following the commandments of Christ every day in your life? Every day will you seek to follow what God has said in Jesus? Then evil will be overcome. We have something meaningful. This church has something meaningful to say to the world around us, to La Crescent, Minnesota, to La Crosse, Wisconsin, and everywhere far and wide. This church has something to say. This church has some evil to overcome. This church has some great things to accomplish if we will allow ourselves to overcome it in our faith and in our obedience and in our love. But how will everyone know? How will they know that evil is overcome unless we have faith in our risen Christ? How will they know unless we are obedient to the commands of Christ? And how will they know unless we love God and we love our neighbors?